And Cameron Graham, I can't tell you how excited I am.
I mean,
to
come on,
have this
seriously.
gentleman standing in between us.
You know, John, Barry Williams, of course, from Brady Bunch fame, but Barry, John and I have worked together over 20 years. And I got to say, this is probably one of the coolest things we've ever done. And we've been to a lot of places, done a lot of things. It is so neat to have you here on our set. It's an honor to have you here, sir. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. It's a cool thing and a very exciting day.
I know.
I've been able to go through the museum here and get just a flavor, because I feel like I could spend a day or two going through and dissecting it and looking at these incredible collections.
It's unreal.
I've got the Jesse James collection right behind me. I'm looking at rifles that were owned by Dwight D. Eisenhower. Right. They have Charlton Heston's rifle that he was holding from my cold dead hands. Right. It's this is the Disney World of
it really is.
Firearms collections,
it's
isn't
unbelievable.
it?
And it was neat just to see before we came on the air. You were over there at the cases and looking around.
You were showing your son the different guns and stuff. It's such a good educational point.
I have a 10-year-old son who fired firearms for the first time this year.
Oh, wow.
And he fired 3 different ones. He had a 22 pistol, a revolver, and then he had a semi-automatic pistol, and we were target shooting, and then we had a rifle that he used. And I'm proud to say that with a few shots, we had to burn a few shells there, but on an 8-inch square at 100 yards with the rifle, and popped it.
All right, so are you traditionally a gun guy? Were you into firearms when you were younger or growing up when you were out in California, or is this a new thing now that you've been in this area?
I started hunting when I was about 12.
Oh, wow, okay.
And mostly for birds. Dove season was a big deal down in Southern California where I was, and I love to eat the dove.
Tastes like chicken.
Yeah, not when you prepare it the way a la Williams. Tastes more like bacon. I'm not saying anymore.
There you go.
It's my secret recipe. But a lot of fun. So traditionally, I'd go out every year for a season.
So let me ask you this, Barry Williams. First of all, let's talk about the reason why you're actually here in Springfield. It's not just a random event. I'm
a huge fan of Bass Pro. So I moved here so I could be close to the Springfield and the Branson Landing Bass Pro.
You are the star of the 70s music celebration down in Branson.
Yes.
And I got to actually, your publicist was kind enough to give me a ticket. I went down and saw the show.
Wait a minute, Cameron.
Yes.
I just found out something.
Yes.
I have a publicist. Wow. Good for me. All right, well, not bad for a former child star.
A woman who gave me a ticket that I don't know what her title should be then. So
that happens on every street corner. So, all right, I'm still safe.
Fair enough, Barry. So you're the star of this show, 70s Music Celebration, down in Branson. Honestly, this isn't just a kiss your butt. It was a great show. It's just fun. It's you're a great entertainer. You've entertained all your career, your whole life. So this is easy for you. You have dancers, you have singers. It's patriotic. It's wonderful. It's nice. Do you like doing that kind of show?
It's my passion. It's why I moved here. It's what I've always wanted to do. This is the show that I wanted to put together. I am trying my very best to follow in Andy Williams' footsteps.
Oh, yeah.
No relation.
They're great.
I understand.
But they're great. Andy Williams, and what he did. Now, what he was doing with his Christmas show was recreating his Christmas specials of every year, annually, that my family used to sit down and watch. And what I'm doing with the 70s Music Celebration is to celebrate the music of the decade in all its styles and kind of the oddities of it, some of the classic music, and it's not a send-up of the 70s. We try and be very faithful.
No, you're very faithful, but you talk about the oddities. You do a segment on the one-hit wonders. You do a segment on the TV themes of the day.
Nice.
I mean, it's just a fun show, and there was some patriotic moments that had me even choked up. I mean, you're very patriotic. You talk about, the city of Branson and this town. I had never been to this area before. John and I had never been there. And John didn't get to go to Branson, but I got to go down and see your show. Barry, there's the God and Country Theater, and then in the souvenir shops they sell NRA T-shirts.
Oh yes.
And it's unbelievable because we're in Washington D.C., and you're from California, and you know how different it is on the coast and in the heartland. How much of has it been a culture shock for you to move here?
Also, I will say that Branson probably honors, respects, and recognizes veterans in a much larger way than any city in the country.
Well, to say that
part of our shows. This is a part of the culture. This is a part of what Branson is about. about, and this is why we attract national groups every year from all over the country of veterans.
After your show, I went and saw Shoji Tabuchi, another act in Branson. You talk patriotism. I mean, the last part of his show is he's an unbelievable story when it comes to immigration and coming to this country and assimilating and loving this country and everything. So yes, absolutely. So you talk about this,
especially when you can understand him.
It is, yeah. Sometimes you need subtitles.
Translator, please. He's wonderful. I saw his show recently as well, and it is very patriotic and very musical and full production kind of a thing. But this is a chance for people to speak their heart and what they're about and their associations with. And I certainly have many, many associations with military. Although I did not serve, but I've entertained and performed and done USO tours and been a big part of that. And I'm an honorary member of a jet fighter squadron. Wow. And my father was in World War II. And in fact, he was stationed off the coast of Iwo Jima when the fireworks happened.
Yeah. So you moved here from Southern California. You've moved here
Los
full
Angeles.
time. You bought. You bought. You said in the show you bought a house here.
Table Rock Lake. It rocks.
Do you miss I'm sure part of you misses California, but have you embraced this part of the country? Has it become part of you? Do you enjoy the values and the cultures here that just, let's be honest, just don't exist in Los Angeles?
I will tell you the experience that I had when I finally moved. This is about a year and a half ago when I actually bought a home here in Branson. Until then, it was kind of like all up in front. I felt like I was moving, and I've been in Los Angeles my whole life, and over 22 years. No, 45 years, 55 years. And I felt like I was moving home.
Interesting.
That was my experience. It was like, oh, this really feels right. I like the environment. I've met more friendly, straight ahead, honest folks by percentage than anywhere I've ever traveled. And I find it, there's a great diversity there. I'm doing what I love. That makes, that's a huge part of who I am. So having 70s music celebration to do and have to go through every day is an important part of it. But as an environment and the quality of life, it's great diversity, a lot of resort activities. I'm a big lake person. I enjoy fishing and skiing and all of those kinds of things. So that's what it feels like. What I do miss, Mom,
of course,
and my brother are there, but
bring him. Why don't you bring him out?
Well, Mom turns 92 this year.
Oh,
and
really?
So we've been doing a lot of Skyping, and I sent her a lot of brochures and
your mom
photos.
Skypes?
Yeah, well,
I can't even get my mom on Facebook.
All right, here's the thing.
Forget that.
Barry, what's the trick?
When we lost our father, and they were married for 55 years, she joined a retirement community and found love.
Oh,
wow.
She has a boyfriend.
Wow.
A much younger man.
And he Skypes for her.
He does Skype.
Yeah.
He does. And he was military. He used to run submarines.
Oh, well, if he ran a nuclear submarine, he can figure out Skype.
So he's a much younger man. He's 89. And so that's how we are.
So she's a cougar.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I wasn't going to say it. I'm not going to explain what that means to anybody over 90.
Speaking with the great Barry Williams. So, Barry, you're talking about the show being, and you talked about the great Andy Williams. And when you talk about, we were talking about that kind of show just as part of, and I keep using this word, Cameron, the fabric of what it is to be an American. And that's what I find so significant coming out here is just to see that fabric of people in here enjoying and celebrating their shooting and hunting sports, the outdoors, and family and all that. That is what I really get here. And that's what's cool about this Bass Pro and this museum. It kind of fits all into that with what you're doing as well. It's all part of what I guess I call the American experience.
I couldn't agree more. And I think this is one of the epitomes of that experience. And it's done in a resort kind of a fashion. Look what Johnny Morris does with this.
I know.
He brings the outdoors in, and we can. It's like having a full outdoor experience just coming to this magnificent store. By the way, the first time that I've been in the flagship.
Really?
Because we have Bass Pro in
you
Branson
down
at the landing,
right?
And I'm in there all of the time. But this is the first time I've actually come through the flagship, the big boy.
We call this the mothership,
and
by
it's
the way.
The mothership. It's amazing between the aquariums and now this fantastic museum that is here. I'm so glad that he's presenting this. And I don't know who has compiled all of this diversity for and
he's
the
walking around
lineage.
here, some guy named Jim.
Well, kudos to him.
Yeah. And what Johnny does, it's so amazing here because you're right. There is a bit of pageantry and there's fun, but that's the way when you have have kids, but at the same time, you have all this going on. Plus, he's building this. There's going to be up to 12 museums in here. There's a conservancy where they're teaching people about the outdoors, and it's just an amazing. It is a whole, all-encompassing experience.
I do have one question. Would it be possible, and I would be willing to take my time to do this, to try and fire and test shoot each one of these firearms?
Barry, I'm sure it would be easy to do.
No problem?
I'm sure they would.
Yeah.
You can just start one case at a time.
Yeah, that's a Jim question for
I
sure.
bet they don't make ammunition for many of these guns.
No.
No.
Except in the backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the garage.
Or the basement.
We're honored to be joined here on NRA News Cam, accompanied by the great Barry Williams, of course, of Brady Bunch fame, now the star of the 70s music celebration. Your billboards all over town in Branson. By the way, there's a 60s show I saw too. Do you guys ever like Rumble? Do you ever like the Jets and the Sharks? The 60s show versus the 70s show?
Absolutely. We're the Jets.
That's right. But I wanted to ask you, just talking about entertainment and music these days, and John was talking about Andy Williams, and John and I both I think we have pretty old souls, and we're kind of like Rat Pack guys, and 70s music and 60s music. That's, the new stuff is most of it's garbage. But when you see...
Well, let's just say there's no melody and it's hard to sing along. But go ahead.
Other than that.
Well, and you have auto-tuning, and it's all nonsense. But Barry, you've worked your way up. You've had a full career to get to where you are today. Do you sometimes resent, the American Idol guy or the America's Got Talent group that they have just because they were on a reality show, all of a sudden they're stars? Or are you happy for their success, or do you think, maybe you needed to work a little harder to get to where you're at?
I'm thrilled for their success. And no, I don't feel any kind of competition. It's part of the change of what happens with the media and how it develops. These are popularity contests. They're not really talent contests. Yeah. Even the contracts that they're given, if they don't sell, they don't sell, and they don't make it. I mean, can you name two of the past American Idol winners over the past 12 seasons, 13 seasons?
I can't.
Yeah, it's not easy. There are of course, some.
I mean, Carrie Underwood's the only person of any reality show.
Carrie Underwood.
That's the one I can remember.
Carrie Underwood, all the way. Carrie, love you.
That's it.
But it's not easy.
So no, and I'm also very comfortable in my shoes.
No, understood.
I'm doing a show about 70s music, which is what I grew up with, where my passion is, what I love, and a big part of that show is nostalgia. And it's bringing people in that are our ages and younger, because they all know the music, and then kind of showing the kids what it was about and how it's changed, and then for the rest of us to kind of relive what that's about. And the good news for me is I have 52 songs in this show. Sure. I wrote the show, and
there's a lot going on.
And with the 70s music, I didn't have to learn any lyrics.
Yeah, exactly.
I already knew them all.
That's the easy part. Let me ask you also, Barry, talking about culture and media, the Brady Bunch itself was such a great show about the foibles and comedic, the comedy and the love and the laughter and the tragedy and everything. But it was about a very functional, great family. Mr. Brady, Robert Reed, he was the epitome of the dad. Look at TV today. Look at TV in the last 5 or 10 years. Dads are morons. Dads are dummies. Fathers are to be, they're always the goofball. It's kind of like the Dad and Family Guy. They're all kind of like him. They're all goofy, and cartoons or regular series. When did TV become? I'm going to just call it anti-dad. Why has TV morphed into this, where the dad and the strong family was so important? Now the dad can just be the goofball no one listens to.
Well, the straight answer here is I think it was right around the time in the late 70s, early 80s when television became more cynical. It didn't have kind of the lighthearted and the innocence and the fun and, as you say, the functionality of a normal life. And when it became more cynical, then things start to cycle in different ways. And so television does that. It recycles your medical shows. Now we have a lot of law shows on. Right. And now we've got a lot of sitcoms with dads that are not what we would like to hold up to as the American standard.
Basically.
Morons is the word I was looking for. And I think that's just a part of a cycle that will cycle out again, and we'll come up with something else.
Well, Barry, you talk about cycles and things. It's really cool. We talk about the show that you were in and other classic shows from that era. I have an 11-year-old daughter, and we've discovered a network that plays a lot of that, and she loves those shows. Those are her favorites. Over a few few things she'll watch here and there, but that is her favorite stuff there.
Yeah, that's what keeps us on television for the last 45 years.
Yeah, but I mean, what's happening? Like Cameron said, what's happening there, and you look now. It's so hard being a parent to try to filter out all the junk, and even from places you think you'd hopefully be able to trust. Stuff that's coming across is just crazy.
That's why we stay with classic TV, classic rock,
Yeah, absolutely.
and of course, good old talk radio.
The stuff that works.
Right.
You also talk, Barry. You were on that show for so long, and you're such a. I mean, you would pretty much go anywhere people recognize you. Tell us the weirdest place you were recognized, and because you've been everywhere. Can you pick one place that you like? Oh wow, I can't believe someone recognized me here.
Well, we don't want to go into like bathroom humor, right? No. Because that gets a little awkward too.
Yeah.
Even when you're 3 stalls down. It's like,
I know you.
Yesterday, I was standing in a line, and this guy's he's looking at me. He says, he says, I'm sorry. He apologized.
Right.
But, you look a lot like Greg Brady. Has anybody ever told you that before? You have those kinds of like awkward things. So I said, my card. 70s music is all about, that explains it.
Right.
Yes. So that does happen. And I certainly understand that. I look a little different than I did when I was 16, 17. And that's where most people think I'm in the time warp.
Well, you said earlier, Barry, that you're comfortable in your shoes, and that's one thing I've meeting you, it confirms it. But having seen and heard other interviews with you, I would say you're comfortable being you in your own skin, which you've made this transition. Because some folks fight that; they have things that happen,
they hate their past,
and they fight it for the rest of their lives.
Right. Well, it's like you talked about classic rock. There's a lot of artists who won't play their old songs.
Yeah.
They want to play here's our new stuff, and they don't want to play the old stuff. I mean, you're going to be Greg Brady.
I think they should take a lesson from Mick Jagger.
Well, but people don't realize, and I'm sure you've heard this before, just the impact that you've had on people's lives. Because
remarkable.
As you say music, I just saw Paul McCartney, and I can tell you what, you don't realize that music, and these people get cynical. He just is amazing and did one song after another, and a great musician. It's like, because it does matter. I mean, it's just gone way beyond just being a show.
Does Paul McCartney need to prove himself as an artist?
No.
If he's going to go out and perform, can he do what his audiences want to hear instead of where he's experiencing? And he does that. And
amazing.
I do Let It Be in my show.
Absolutely. You had one of the nicest parts of your show is you did this acoustic around the campfire. And you had this this fake campfire set. And you guys
Which
just
you got at Bass Pro, by the way.
Probably.
It's downstairs.
Of course I did.
And you sing acoustic, and the acoustic instruments you play and play. And by the way, I think you said he's your band director, your drummer. That man is amazing.
Yeah, he
is. It was one of the amazing, and he plays bongos when you're doing that. And that really got to me. And the weird thing, I don't know if you noticed this too, and Bill, I'll let you go because I know you're a busy guy here. But the weirdest thing to me is I personally am a child of the '80s, and I grew up on all the Madonna.
He's like bragging now, right?
No,
No,
sir, not at all.
I'm a child of the 70s. It's okay.
But this show that we simulcast on Sirius XM satellite radio, and there's channels for every decade, and I find myself in the last couple of years, I find myself gravitating toward the '70s channel. Pop, have you noticed that, Barry? Have you noticed that? People.
I was a DJ for totally 70s station.
Oh, that's right.
For 4.5 years. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just
And my biggest challenge sometimes, and this is not a criticism, but on my play set there were about 35 songs, that we do regular, and I had to introduce those differently every day.
Right.
And I'm playing like 60 songs a day. So sometimes I am coming up for a new introduction to the same song I just did 2 hours ago.
I remember
it was a challenge.
Heard this for the first time.
Yeah.
But
today.
Do people talk to you?
Maybe it wasn't the first time. Maybe it was the same.
But do people talk to you about how they just gravitate back towards '70s music and over and over again?
They do to me because that's what I'm representing, especially. But I think there's a good reason for it, and there's a reason why 6, 8, 10, 12-year-olds all come in singing the songs, and they know when we do the one-hit wonders, and we're doing Car Wash, or we're doing Kung Fu Fighting.
Oh yeah.
All the kids know that from the soundtracks of the movies and things like that, as well as much of the other good music, because we have good parenting out there, and they're playing the right kinds of music.
All right, we got to let you go. Before we let you go, please tell our listeners, our viewers, how do they get information about your show, where to go online, and you also, I know at the gift shop, you had the Growing Up Brady. You still have that out there. Can you still get that on Amazon? Where do we get your stuff?
You can't.
Where's your swag?
Yeah, well, that's That's probably Amazon, and yes, I do have merch. But the nice thing about the show is the cast and I go out into the lobby after the show. We meet people and they ask questions.
And they say you stay to the very last one.
Sure. And that we get things signed. So it's very a personal experience that way. The best way to do it, we call it 70s Music Celebration, and that's what everything is under. It's 70S, like the numeral 70S, musiccelebration.com, and the schedules are there and where I am and the times that I'm there. And you've only got 85 more opportunities this year to see the show.
Well, that's also means someone can watch it 85 times, which I would highly recommend at least once. It's a great show, Barry. No, seriously, a great joke. I was very happy to get a ticket to it.
Thank you.
So honored that you came to our show today.
Me
happy
too.
to have
Thank
you
you,
at Bass
Ken.
Pro.
Thank
And please enjoy the museum. I mean,
I will.
I hope you get some time
And
to.
I am.
And we're going to take you over to Jim so we can work out later on to get you into some of those cases. Yeah,
well, he'll definitely give you a private tour.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you
Nice
very
to meet
much.
you,
All
Barry.
right.
Very nice
Barry
to meet you.
Williams, thank
A
you so
pleasure.
much. I
Thanks very much.
appreciate it.